Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I'm sitting here working on some cheese, and I got an email that my package that I've been waiting for is finally arrived. Now I'm going to bring you along for the unboxing of my brand new Impact grain mill. So let's go get it. Hey friends, it's Barbara Sue at Kowalski Mountain, and welcome back to the homestead. I am super excited about this grain mill because I learned about milling my own flour at least 15 years ago. Some of my friends started doing it and they were very excited, and you know, it was really kind of a cool thing that I wanted to try. But back then, I was a single mom. I had 3 kids, and a grain mill was way out of my budget. Now, the Impact grain mill is the most affordable grain mill on the market. This thing is coming in under $200. Now, I'm super excited because the affordability of this grain mill is going to make it possible. I'm out of breath. For people like me who want to mill their own flour, who want to provide the most nutritious grains for their family, and most grain mills are just outside of their price range. So I'm thrilled that this mill is going to make milling possible for so many more people. And there she is. Bless you, UPS man, for putting it in a bag. Love it. Thank you, thank you. Now let's get this thing home. All right. Let's get into this box. Man, this is huge. Okay, so I got a Bake Something Happy. Thank you for your purchase. Now I have to say, right out of the chute, I'm so surprised the box is so big. I did not expect that at all. I think this box is bigger than my Harvest grain mill. Great. So the first thing out of the box is the user's guide. Talks about how to put it together, what to do before you use it, all that good stuff. It's very nicely packed. I feel really good about that. Let's take that off. Now the name of this mill is the Impact grain mill, but it's also an impact mill. So there's 2 kinds of mills. There's burr mills and impact mills, and this is an impact mill. Now, impact mills use an enclosed milling chamber. So this would be the milling chamber over here. And you can see I can't get into that at all. It has steel concentric rings that crush the grain. Now this is the collection chamber. It's got little stickers and things on it here. How to find it. So let's see. see, step 1, remove canister, press down. It says to press down on the ribbed end of the canister latch. Here, pull here. Pull up on the latch. Okay, so I've unlocked the lid. And lift the lid while pressing down gently on the lip of the canister. Ah, there it goes, right there. This is the hopper. It's gonna go right up in there. I like how that locks in. This is the flour collecting canister, and one of the complaints that people have about the harvest grain mill, the one that I have, is that it's kind of dusty because the flour just comes out of a spout and it is a little bit dusty. The flour is enclosed in the canister, so you're not going to have any of that dustiness. Now when we put it back together, there's a little hinge right here that's going to slip right in there. And then we press down, and that's going to keep the flour contained inside of the canister. Oh, and that snaps right into place. I don't know if you saw that, but there's a piece right here, and we just slide that in there, and that's going to keep everything together so that we don't have any problems with it coming apart while we're milling. Well, that was pretty simple. And I didn't read any instructions. You saw me as I was going, other than the stickers that are so nicely placed right on it to get me going. So setup has been super easy. Now the hopper holds 8 cups of wheat. And let's look here at the back. Now this grain mill is advertised for bread flour, and you have very limited amounts of, very limited ability to change the texture of the grain. So it does have a knob right here, and that had just a sticker, which I don't really like the sticker because that's probably not going to stay, but I've put it, right now it's on a 1, 2, and we can go to 7. Now I don't know what the difference is of that texture. We're going to find out. But it seems pretty easy to adjust. And let's see, where's the power strip? Let's see the power. Where's the power cord? Good morning, friends. Well, I had a little problem with my new mill, and it is the unfortunate repercussions of mass production. I was so excited to try it out for you last night and show you all the wonderful things it could do. And unfortunately, my unit is missing the electric cord. Now, I like to be transparent with you regarding things on my YouTube channel, and so I'm not going to leave that part out. I'm going to let you know that there was an issue, though minor, with my machine. So I ended my video rather abruptly last night and contacted Nutrimil right away, and they're going to be sending me a new cord. Thankfully though, I'm married to MacGyver. Now this mill uses a standard cord used on many computers and television sets, and so we actually have a cord on hand, and so the show can go on. Now, in the meantime, I'm confident that Nutrimil is going to make it right and mail me the correct cord. But for now, let's check out this mill a little bit more thoroughly. Now, last night I did set it up for you, but I wanted to go over some things. I've had time to read over the manuals and the box and to get a good feel for this mill. This mill is designed for a variety of grains. Now, it is for non-oily or wet grain. So right on the box, it tells you of a variety of grains that you can use with this mill, and it continues in the manual. And there's a lot of things that you can grind in this mill. Things you cannot mill in the impact grain mill. That would be oatmeal or rolled oats, dried fruits or vegetables, sprouted grains or beans, if not thoroughly dried. Now, if you dry them first, you can. They cannot be wet. Sesame seeds, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, coffee beans, chia seeds, spices, nuts, goji beans, herbs, hemp, sugar, tapioca, and chocolate. You want to avoid any grains and beans that have a high oil content. And that's because in an impact mill, here inside this box is the milling chamber, and it's sealed. We can't get into it. But they've been kind enough to show us pictures of what those stainless steel plates look like. Now, they pulverize the wheat at high speed rotations. So the impact grain mill has a higher voltage motor than the harvest grain mill, though it is the same as the classic, and it is a noisier mill because of the high speed power that it mills at. Now, one of the things about it is that because it is a high-speed mill, it does grind wheat at a cooler temperature because it's happening so fast. Now, another thing to note, the hopper is an 8-cup hopper, and this is designed as a safety feature. So if you do not put the hopper on and engage it, lock it into place, this mill will not start. And you also don't want to overfill the hopper. This holds 8 cups of grain, and the flour canister holds 12 cups of ground flour. So you don't want to overfill. You can't continuously add grain to this like I can with my harvest grain mill because I am limited on my space. Now, inside my flour canister is what they call the cyclo cup, and this is designed for maximum airflow, and you do have a filter that you'll want to clean on occasion. Now, everything is dishwasher safe with the exception of the sponge, and of course you should never put your mill itself in the dishwasher, but the flour canister and the hopper, and I believe also this lid is all dishwasher safe. I don't have a dishwasher, so that's never a concern for me, but I know some of you are concerned. Now, the thing that I've already told you that I'm most excited about this mill is its price point. This is the most affordable grain mill on the market. And while it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of some of the others, it's pretty similar to the classic grain mill. The classic grain mill is also an impact grain mill. It has higher capacities, and it does have some higher capacities for different size grains. But otherwise, it is pretty similar of a machine. Now, they do call this a bread flour grain mill, which I'm kind of curious about what that's going to look like. Now, one thing that I will tell you that I find a little annoying is this right here. So this is a sticker that is how you turn it on. And when you turn it on, mine's not plugged in right now, but when you turn it, the sticker aligns to the different speeds. And you can tell mine is peeling off. So I kind of find that annoying. It's not a deal breaker because obviously the first click is speed 1. But this is one of those things that they did to make it a more affordable unit. Now, for entry level and For people that have to choose between not having a mill and having a mill, these are the kinds of things that they've done to make this mill more affordable for you. The most important thing is that it mills and grinds wonderful flour, and we're going to test that out. Now, when choosing your flour texture, the hopper actually has some pretty important information on it that's going to help you choose what level to choose. So here it says when you're using small grains like quinoa, quinoa? I know that's wrong. Let's go to Google. Pronounce quinoa. Ah, here it is.
Quinoa.
Quinoa. There it is. See? I knew Google would know. So when you're doing a small grain like quinoa, you would want to do the feed rate of number 1 for a fine grain flour, or feed rate of 2+ for coarse grain. Now, if you do medium grains like wheat, you would use the feed rate of 2 or 3 for fine grain, or for a fine flour, or 4+ for coarse. Last type of grain it has on here is large, like beans. And if you want a fine bean flour, and remember that's non-oily beans, you would do 3 or 4 as the feed rate and 5+ as the coarse. So that gives you some guidelines of how to set this as you're getting started. Now I think I'm going to leave my sticker on, at least for a while, until I remember which ones I like best. Now just a few fun facts for you. This does have a 1200 watt heavy duty motor. We already talked about the stainless steel impact milling heads. It has an easy adjust control knob, which we've seen and we'll see it in action. We talked about the flour bowl capacity and the grain hopper capacity, and the machine itself weighs 10 pounds. Now, I was kind of surprised that this is as big as it is. It is a larger footprint than my Harvest grain mill, and that's because of the attached flour canister. Now, my Harvest does not have a flour canister, so I only have the base footprint, not the added bowl. Now, if I put a bowl in front of my Harvest, it's about the same size. Granted, I don't store it that way. Well, I think that's everything that I wanted to go over about the mill itself. So let's see it in action. Now I'm all set up here in the kitchen with my impact grain mill, and we are ready to do the initial cleaning. Now when you first get a grain mill, any kind of grain mill, you want to clean it first by running some white rice through the mill. Now the nice thing about this mill is I can go ahead and put in my measured grains now, even when the machine is off, because it has a flow control and it will not allow the grains to go through. Now running rice through the mill is going to clean out any oils or grease or dirt just from the assembly and shipping process. Now in the instructions it said to use 2 cups of rice, which is what I've got in here, and I think we're ready to turn this thing on. So let's see how loud it's going to be. Now an impact mill is going to be louder than my Harvest grain mill. Now I'm going to leave this volume full strength so you can hear what it really sounds like. Hardly anything. Okay. So just a little bit of flour in there. Extremely fine. Now I feel like this is going kind of slow, so I took it all apart, made sure I had everything together the way it's supposed to be. Now I don't know if you just saw what happened there. I turned this just a little bit so it was engaged enough that the machine turned on, but it wasn't engaged enough to really pull the grain through, and it just all sucked right through. So it got a lot faster when this was put together correctly. So if you're having trouble, make sure this is fully engaged on top. Let's look at our flour. Oh, it's so fine. I know it's super hard to see rice flour. Now this flour is super fine. I think this is much finer than my Nutrimil. I'm going to be honest about that. Like a lot finer. Now let's grind some flour for today. Now I'm going to do a couple different things. The first flour that I'm going to grind is some rye flour. Now I bought rye specifically to feed my sourdough. It's supposed to be really good for sourdough, and I thought I'd try it. So I have just a little bit of rye, only 20 grams. So this won't take very long. Now that does still seem kind of slow to me, but I am using it on 1. So I'm using it on the finest flour, which probably is not necessary. Now that rye flour is a little bit easier to see in there. Now I measured that specifically for my sourdough, so I can just dump that right in. I'll add some water to this later. Now last night I was going to make you pizza, which I did make pizza, but we already ate it. So today I am going to mill some spelt and soft white wheat. Philip happened to mention at breakfast this morning that he loves the waffles I made for him this week. So I'm going to go ahead and cook up some waffles and put those in the freezer for breakfast throughout the week. That's going to make my mornings, or his mornings really, because I don't make him breakfast, but his mornings a little bit easier. Now in my bowl I have around 3 cups of wheat berries that are mixed for my flour. This time I thought it would be fun to do a stopwatch and just see how long it takes to grind this much wheat in the impact grain mill. Now I'm going to do it on 3. According to the hopper, when I'm doing a medium wheat, which spelt and soft white would be medium wheats, you would do a feed rate of 2 to 3. I'm going to do 3 because I want to see what the rate is for 3. So we're going to put this in. And just as a hint, the flat side would be on the left, and then you can turn it. And I don't know if you can see that. Here's a flat side right here. That goes on the left of the mill, and then that locks in. So let's go ahead and add our wheat. I'm ready to start my stopwatch. Here we go. And I'm going to do it on 3. Now that took over 10 minutes to do about 3 cups of wheat. Now something I noticed that I couldn't tell you while it was running is that every once in a while I would notice that the hopper seemed like it wasn't moving. Most of the time you can see the grains moving, and I wasn't seeing it moving, and I wasn't seeing it for a long time. So that time might be a little bit inaccurate if it was moving the whole time. But I noticed, for one, this moves a little bit. So I went ahead and I just kind of held it to hold it in place, make sure it stayed locked in, which it was. But the other thing I did was I just, for a second, I would turn the fineness setting to a 4. Just for a second, just to see the grain start to move. I turn it right back to 3. I had to do that frequently just to keep the grain flowing. The one difference I'm seeing already with the impact mill versus my Nutrimill harvest grain mill is that my harvest grain mill, I know it's doing something because I can see the flour coming out. With an impact grain mill that has a flour canister, I can't see what's going on. I can't see if the fineness of the flour is where I want it to be or not. So that's where you're going to learn how to trust your machine and that your settings are set the way you want. Now, let's look at the flour. Now, I will say, I definitely think the flour is much more fine than my harvest grain mill. Definitely much more fine. So I will give it some bonus points for that. This is the kind of fine flour that I've always wanted with my Nutrimill, that I've just never gotten this type of fineness with my Nutrimill. Put it on its most fine setting. So that is encouraging. So if you want ultra fine flour, it's worth a little extra time to get that. I'm really impressed with the fineness of the flour. I'm probably going to pull out my Nutrimill, and I want you to see the difference in the flour side by side. Now, the other advantage of the impact grain mill is that there's no flying flour in the room. Now, it's not a huge problem, but there is flour floating in the air because it's moving. A lot of people say that it's the type of bowl that you use, I believe it's using a glass bowl is better than a plastic bowl, because that plastic bowl is going to be creating static electricity more so than a glass bowl. I'm really impressed with the fineness of the flour. I will definitely give it kudos for that, even though it took what I considered to be a longer amount of time. Now, the more I use it, and I'm not going to grind up a bunch of flour today because the whole point of using wheat berries is to mill my flour fresh so that we get the most nutritious wheat that we possibly can. But I am going to be experimenting with the settings to see the differences between the more fine settings and the more coarse. I do want to run some at the coarsest setting while we're together, just so you can see it. Now, this is kind of an interesting concept to me. You know, with my Nutrimill, I don't have to wash this necessarily every time. I don't know the recommendations by Nutrimill if I should wash this every time. I mean, probably. And this is the cyclone filter so that it has good airflow is what this does. I'm going to have to look into that. Now for the last test, and this won't be an apples to apples test because I'm not going to do that much flour. I should have split it up into 2 groups is what I should have done. Bet I should have thought of that. But this time I'm just going to do 1/3 cup of soft white wheat. And this is another thing I really like. I like being able to fill my hopper before I start my machine. Now with my harvest grain mill, I can't do that because if you fill a burr mill with grain first, all that grain fills in between the plates, between the stones, and it won't start because it can't move because the wheat has bound it up. So I really do like that I can just dump my wheat in there right away, even though I'm not ready to mill it yet. Now we're going to do kind of the same thing this time. I'm going to reset my stopwatch. So I'm going to push start, and I'm going to put it on 7, the coarsest flour that this machine does. Now that was super fast. It was actually under 7 seconds, but I accidentally tapped the button a second time. But that was super fast. Now let's see the comparison of the flour. It really doesn't look that much different. Now on the website, Nutrimil advertises this as a mill for bread flour. Now I would use this for anything. I'm going to use it for anything. But I definitely think I could do this at a higher speed. That 10 minutes at the 3 was very long, but this flour looks very comparable. Let's put it on a plate side by side, on a colored plate, so we can see the differences. So this first bit right here that I'm going to do, this is the super fine on 3. I'm going to put that right there. Now on this other side, I'm going to do the flour that's on 7. There's really not much difference. I'm going to bring you in closer. Now based on that, I would definitely use a higher number. I wouldn't wait 10 minutes for the difference in the flour. They're both extremely fine flour. Now just to show you, I'm going to get out my Nutrimil and I'm going to show you my finest setting on my Nutrimil. Alright, so here's my Nutrimil, and we're going to look at these side by side in a moment. But I do have this on the finest setting right now. And I want to show you the difference in the grain of the fineness. Now with a burr mill, you turn it on first. I should have run the time on that. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll try to pull that from the video, the time. I might be able to calculate that for you. But let's go ahead and put this flour on our plate. So this is my Nutrimil on the finest setting. This is my Impact on the coarsest setting. And my Impact on the number 3 setting, so middle of the road. These honestly, now that I have my glasses on, these look pretty similar. This being the finest setting on my Nutrimil, and this being the coarsest setting on my Impact. Now that is something you need to consider if you are looking at the Impact grain mill or even the classic grain mill in comparison to a Harvest grain mill. With my Stone Burr grain mill, I can do cream of wheat. I can make that, I can do all the way up to cracked corn in this mill. So if I want to do grits or cream of wheat or cornmeal, I can do all of that in my Harvest grain mill. My Impact grain mill does not have the coarseness control to be able to do that. So you really do need to consider, how are you going to use your grains before you select a mill? Now, I can't answer that for you. When I bought my Harvest grain mill, I never even considered cream of wheat. That is one of my favorite things to do with my mill. I eat cream of wheat every single day. And it was a perk that I never even considered with my grain mill that I'm really thankful that I have. So you have to decide what's important to you, the kind of fineness you want, or if it comes down to the difference of a Harvest grain mill costs over $400, whereas your Impact is coming in under $2. For many of us, budget is going to be the biggest consideration in choosing a mill. Now, don't forget, no matter which mill you choose, if you're going to be buying a new grain mill or a Universal Plus mixer or an Artiste, anything from Nutrimil, you can use my discount code and my links. Now, you're going to find all that in the description box. My discount code is KM Kowalski Mountain Bakers 20, all one word, and that will save you $20. Now, on the Impact mill, you're going to get that right off the top. My code is good with select sales. It's not always good with sales. Let me look up just one second. The Nutrimil Black Friday sales is going to be starting very soon. I cannot tell you the date, but I can tell you it's going to be very soon. And you can use my code during the Black Friday sales in combination with the sale price. So be sure to use that code and my link below, KM Bakers 20 for $20 off, no matter which appliance you choose. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you before we go is the size comparison between the Impact and the Nutrimil. Height-wise, we're looking at about the same. Footprint-wise, if you're going to keep a grain mill on your countertop, your Nutrimil has definitely got a much smaller footprint. However, when you add a bowl of flour to the front of it, it's about equal. So it's, again, a very personal decision of which one best meets your needs. Now, overall, my experience with both of these mills is very positive. I'm really happy with both. I've actually never done a review on my Harvest grain mill. I guess I need to do one. They're both easy to use. I'm happy with my flour. My only hesitation, if I were to buy between the two, is if you want to be able to grind coarser grains. If you want that cream of wheat, that grits, that cornmeal, this machine is not going to do that for you. So you definitely want to make a decision about what you want to use your grains for, and also, is aesthetic appeal important to you? You know, that's really, you have to decide if that's important to you or not. Well, friends, I'm super excited about both my grain mills, and I'm excited to have them. I love being able to cook with fresh ground flour, knowing that I am feeding my family the most nutrient-dense wheat and bread products that I can. Now, as always, friends, I really appreciate you watching, especially to the very end. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, hit that button. I'd love you to be a part of the Kowalski Mountain family. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Delicious.